gents, to the Four Horsemen of Sales Season 1, Episode 5.
Yes, sir.
I
missed.
What is it?
Cinco.
Malcolm?
Guys.
5.
I said 5. All right, guys, we're excited here. We're getting things moving along. Before we do that, obviously, our in-house quote of the episode. Brought to you by
MK.
Malcolm.
Q.
Claudia.
Q.
I thought you called me Q.
I do.
It is.
End
It
quote.
is. Hey,
End quote.
it goes right into what our goal is going forward. But hey, to manifest your greatness, you must immerse yourself in an ongoing process.
Mm-hmm.
Say it one more time. Say it one more
Say
time.
it again. To manifest your greatness, you must immerse yourself in an ongoing process. And Les Brown said that. The great Les Brown.
Great Les Brown. I love it. I love it. So, again, we didn't get a chance to say this, but if this is your first time listening to us, viewing us, my name is Yanni Kifley.
It's Alaman Gesha.
Malcolm Kifley.
Claudio.
And we are the Four Horsemen of Sales here again, transforming individuals to be resilient, motivated, and skilled is our mantra. And we broke it down the first few episodes about what our purpose is and what we're trying to accomplish in this podcast. And I think we're going to try to move things along in kind of get into the meat and potatoes. Like I said, anytime that you listen to us, I think we want you to walk away with actual gems, practical things that you can take away, whether you're in the actual sales industry or not, things that you can take away and you can utilize in your own life, in your industry, in your career. Yep. And I think today we're going to be talking about diving in terms of, you talked about the process, traditional methods of selling versus social selling or modern selling, and how that incorporates in the industries that we're in. And I think we've talked about how I think both, in the way we look at it, and we can all speak about this, but both I think are important. I think nowadays people have kind of moved away from. I think they look at traditional selling as more, like kind of like something that people are not wanting to do anymore versus modern and whatnot. I think that's because of the tech world, the rise of that. But thoughts on that? What do you guys?
Yeah, I think we can start out by kind of defining what traditional selling and social selling is, right? So when it comes to traditional selling by the books, if you looked up traditional selling, it's like, hey, what does it mean? It's traditional sales is a very seller-centric, right? It's an approach that relies on grabbing attention by interrupting what people are doing, right? And then telling them why they should be interested in what you offer, and then expecting them to make a purchase on the spot. What is known as pressure sell, if you will, all right? It was another definition that I read in there too. So that's more or less what traditional selling is known as far as for social selling. Claudio?
Yeah, social selling, I guess, if you want to do it by definition, is the process of developing relationships as a part of the sales process. Examples of social selling is the techniques, including relevant content, interacting directly with the potential buyer or customer, personal branding, and social listening. Some examples of social selling.
Yeah. I always think when I think of traditional selling, like the movie Wolf of Wall Street just comes in mind. Like that's
in your face, right?
In your face,
now.
The scripts, like in a sense of whether it be tactics or strategies that you use to basically acquire the client. And for the sake of going through this process here, I think most people will fall into either one or two. And in essence, it could be a spectrum. But for the sake of this episode, we're going to be defining traditional and social in terms of how you go about acquiring clients. Yeah. What methods or process do you use to acquire clients? So whether it be traditional methods versus social methods. So that's kind of what we're going to be breaking down. And so today's episode will be the top 3 traditional methods and process of how to go about acquiring clients.
Yeah.
All right. I think first and foremost, I think we can all agree is cold calls.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Cold calls is, yeah, and that is cold calls. I think nowadays people are so scared of phone calls, like getting on a call. Nowadays, I mean, because of I think more text, emails. I think, but cold calls. Do you guys? I mean, everybody's industry is a little bit different, but some of you will do cold calls versus not? I know with your industries, is that something that you guys?
We can, for sure. That's something that's there. It's available for sure to be done. But for the most part, no, it's not.
Okay. Yeah, Claude, what you've done
in a cold calling approach to getting customers, yes, of course. When you're dealing with business to business approach, the traditional way of cold calling is picking up the phone and making that dial is one way to look at it, and the other way is knocking on the door while you're there and seeing if you can get their business. So, I mean, there's different traditional ways of cold calling, of course. We'll get into social ways too.
So we will. So break down traditional this episode and then more social techniques next. So the top three. First, we'll start out with social. With traditional is cold calling. Cold calling, for the sake of initially, is the actual phone calls. So like me being in real estate and whatnot, that was a big, especially when I started, that was a big part of the selling process. Especially when you're new with remember real estate, you're new. You basically, in essence, you have no clients. It's not like a brick and mortar where people are walking in to become clients. So in terms of cold calling, actual techniques that we use or actual type of cold calls, we did what we call circle prospecting. Circle prospecting is where you're basically calling on neighborhoods to basically acquire listings or represent sellers to sell their home. Okay, so one of the ways that we've done that is one of the days that I've done that and my team has done that is just sold or just under contract type of calls. Or we're calling the neighborhoods. I'm calling you. So Malcolm, let's say you had a property in your neighborhood that just went under contract or just sold, like 2 doors down. I will call you, and this is the actual script that I would use. I'm like, hi, I'm actually looking for Malcolm. Hey Malcolm, sorry to bother you, and I actually didn't have too much time right now, and we put that too much, not enough. We didn't have too much time as a priming effect in the sense of. When a telemarketer calls you, what's your biggest fear sometimes? Like, what's your normal?
I ain't got time for this.
I ain't got time. So it's getting to the point of, hey, listen, actually, it's not gonna be too long, and actually, I'm actually doing you a favor. So this is kind of more of a favor call. So I would call and say, listen, I actually don't have too much time right now, but there's a lot of buyers right now wanting to be in your neighborhood, and the property next door actually just went under contract. Obviously, only one buyer could buy this house. Do you happen to know anybody in your neighborhood that's interested in possibly selling a home? And those are cold calls that we will make across town in terms of actual call to see if ultimately who wants to sell a home. And our goal with that is setting up an appointment. Now, keep in mind, a lot of people are scared of cold calls. Because what typically happens?
Why is that though?
Why is that? Because I'm getting cussed out. You can get cussed out. I've gotten cussed out. I've gotten people, and it's uncomfortable, right? I mean, if you're calling somebody,
I guess to elaborate, just to pause on there, just know even if Team Yanni is doing those cold calling, it doesn't stop Team Malcolm from doing the exact same cold calling.
Oh.
So the same client could be getting a ridiculous amount of calls coming into them. So now, what is Yanni going to say that's different than what Team whatever is going to say that's going to allow me to be more interested.
Okay, exactly.
So a polished script, knowing what you're talking about, the area, all that good stuff, that's going to be a lot more intriguing. So when we talk about traditional sales as a whole, right, by definition, again, it's being able to have something that's going to grab their attention and interrupt their flow, right? So,
correct. And I
guess that's how you would separate yourself from all those other cold calls that are coming in.
I think, I studied all these different types of, cold call scripts and whatnot. And I think when I read, I forgot the book, but the priming effect is nobody would expect a telemarketer to sell them, I actually have too much time right now. Yeah. I think most telemarketers are begging for they're reverse. So when you say that, you in essence you turn their perception around. Mm-hmm. Actually this it's not an actual telemarketer. He's actually going to do me a favor because I'm actually, making it quick, first of all. But that itself changes. So, you have to keep in mind, there's a lot of people that are calling. Yeah. So, those cold calls. So, again, just sold, just under contract. You can call it, even if you're not the actual listing agent in our sense. Even if I didn't sell a property in that neighborhood, I will call and just use that same script and say, again, when I say, hey, there are people in your neighborhood that really want to be. There are buyers that really want to be in your neighborhood. It's not it's not lying. It's not anything of that sort. It doesn't mean I sold a property in there. There's buyers that want to be, because if you know a property goes off the market in a certain neighborhood really quickly, you know people who want to be in that neighborhood, and you know things are selling.
And not to mention that property that just gets sold, that wasn't the only offer.
Yeah, right? There's multiple offers. Exactly.
Offers,
Exactly. So,
but when it comes to like just other businesses too, right? That's effective in all sorts of business, no matter what your product is. Right?
Yeah.
So being able to make those cold calls.
Listen, when I'm making these cold calls, when I made these cold calls, these are literally we pick a neighborhood, we use these resources, and again, when I first started out, when I didn't have any money and whatnot, I used just the 401.com. I would do 401.com, reverse addresses, look up all the number and manually dial. You know, as I kind of got into the business and, you know, I was able to spend a little bit of money, I would use systems like Mojo, which will give you like a dialer. You can call it 3 numbers at one time. And basically they would give us you can circle a neighborhood, it will it would extract all that information and you're just calling them. And I would literally have situations where I've called the wrong number, a wrong address, a wrong neighborhood, but they want to sell. I've literally had that situation. So
isn't that crazy?
You're actually, so the fact it works, the process, it's obviously a little bit more intense or more uncomfortable than, you know, calling somebody that you know, but it works. Yeah. So you get that. Next part, I guess, when we're talking about the top 3 techniques for traditional, the second one is door knocking. And I know, Claude, you did.
Yeah, so I mean, with door knocking and businesses related to like B2B side, you really have to have a game plan when it comes to geocoding. So you're given a territory when you're B2B. Most places they say, hey, this is your little area. You have. So of course you're going to do the necessary parts to do the cold calling, make the phone calls, try to make appointments, all that jazz. Same concept. But the only difference that you learn too when you're doing this is geocoding is if you're out in that same area, to make sure when it's door to door, you knock on really every single door on that route, and in between the appointment, in between that time, because by doing that, if you solve that one issue, that one problem from them, most likely they'll have a similar problem or something that your product or service can offer for them as well.
And this is normally this is B2B, right? When you
so it's B2B.
Okay.
And of course we can go into more details of exactly how to get to decision making and the process of getting into the decision making process when it comes to the door to door, or you know, ways to get past the gatekeepers, because usually there's going to be somebody there saying, hey, no soliciting, or you can't be here or something like that. So there's different ways you can go about doing it to win them over, or different things to get inside the door and have that pitch where you can talk to them.
Take us real quick, I know, because we talked about this before, but like a step by step. So let's say you knew you had to come into this let's say it's just shopping center, right? In this area. So the first thing that you would do before let's say you're gonna go out that Friday. What would you do? Let's say by on Wednesday, what would you do?
So a lot of the times, time is money. So at the end of the day, you don't want to spend a bunch of time traveling back and forth. Like you want to prevent your drive time getting to whatever location you're going to from doing that, because then you're wasting time. Unless you have a plan for that instance where like, hey, I got these calls that I'm going to make while I'm driving. That's another way to be productive when you're doing it. And if you know you're going into that area, you're making those calls ahead of time to make sure you can get in the door and get that process started with the cold calling.
So you would call ahead normally?
Usually you try to call ahead. If not, like I said, you're there, you go into action. You just straight up introduce yourself, tell them what you're doing.
So imagine, like, because we want to break this down. Like I said, we got to talk about how, because somebody that may be listening, like, really would not even know the actual things to say to walk into a door to a business. So okay, so you let's say you made calls on Wednesday. You're gonna go out on Friday. You made 3 appointments, right, in that shopping center. So now you know you have 3 appointments, and then you have 2 hours to kill. So you're gonna walk around that shopping center.
Correct.
Okay, so you walk into shop. Just again, obviously everybody's different and whatnot, but just a general General
at that
idea.
time, you already know you have 3 appointments, right?
Yeah.
All you're really, what people get so confused is they're trying to make the sale right on the spot, 100%, right? You can, but what you're really trying to focus on is, hey, I'm trying to set this appointment. I'm just trying to sell an appointment.
Yeah.
So what you have to really do is slow it down and speed it up when it comes to the process of knowing what you're going after. So like with eating an elephant, you know, you don't just go right away, boom, 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 unless your product or service can acquire that. A lot of the times with B2B, you have to get things approved. There's a decision-making process that has to be played where someone can't just make the decisions.
The process is longer, yeah.
Yeah, so it just depends what it is. So everybody's sales cycle or process is going to be a little bit different. And the decision-making process is going to be different. You may get an owner that can make a decision on the spot, and you could do that. But you don't know that. You don't know any of that stuff until you first knock on the door and get in there and talk to them. So a lot of the times you got to win. And the reason it's harder for me to explain it is because you have gatekeepers, you know, in certain industries, and some you don't. You can go straight to the owner and you can talk to them. And so the approaches are going to be...
the scripts will be different.
Yeah, the approaches are going to be completely different
accomplish.
to what you're trying to accomplish there.
Do you have a go-to line for like gatekeepers?
With gatekeepers, you got to remember their job is to get a qualified person in front of the decision maker, because if it's a bad person, they're gonna get in trouble.
Yeah.
Like, why did you send them over there to me? What made you do this?
They're trying to filter out somebody that's just gonna waste their time.
Yeah. So a lot of the times, always show them respect, because a lot of people don't. They think oh, they're a gatekeeper, I don't need them.
Yeah.
But show them respect. They're people too. The other thing, you know, if you act like you've been there or you're supposed to talk to them, that also helps with the scenario. So if they're the CEO and you know them, a lot of the times, if you say, like say I'm going to call Malcolm, he's the CEO, I'm going to say, hey, is Malcolm available? You know, some people might say, hey, is Malcolm available today? Thank you.
Versus what? Like, is the CEO of it? Like
or not. See, if you didn't do your research, you don't know who it is. So it makes it harder for you to get to that person.
What I'm saying is, like, the reason why you dropped their name and the way you did it is because it makes it seem like
you know, they're like, oh, this person may know them, and hey, is he in today? Boom, real quick, and like, you should know. The person, their reaction, or when you see them, they're gonna be like, yeah, he is. Give me just a, what was your name? And like all of a sudden, they're on the fence and trying to figure out, like, oh, I got to make sure I get this guy in front of them. Yeah. You see what I mean? But it's just the approach, depending on if it's a gatekeeper or if it's not. I mean, every business is a little different. Yeah. And whatever your product or service is, you have to kind of tailor it around that. So hopefully that helps.
That's good. It's just been, those things help in like specifics and whatnot. And I think we'll get into more like, because a lot of people might be listening that are kind of that do the door knocking and whatnot. So they will want to know specifically like objection handlers and whatnot. What happens if you face a gatekeeper that just like that has like whatever, so like different things. So we'll get into more of that. And then I did the third technique again. We're talking about the top 3 techniques, top 3 traditional selling techniques or processes, and how you acquire clients. First one again is the cold calling for phones. Second one is door knocking or door to door, whether it be business, B2B, or you're talking consumers. And the third is direct marketing, right? And I think a lot of times, whether it be you guys or the company itself, talk about more about the direct marketing things specifics on that.
Yeah, so I mean, you either work for a big company, so you have a company that's you have a marketing division, or as Yanni stated earlier, hey, it's an individual, right, that's growing that business. But when we talk about direct marketing, we talked about, hey, there's billboards, right, that can lead, that can generate traffic or lead generations. There's your ability to be at specific events that will give you exposure to the product that you're representing. With us, what we experience is, hey, it's almost indirect marketing, right? And it leads to target marketing. So imagine if whatever product or company you represent, you're at a specific trade show or expo, or anything that there's gonna be a lot of foot traffic.
Yeah.
Right? And the goal is to get names, right? It could be just to get names, or it could be to actually be there and set, in my personal opinion, there should be some level of a script to gain if there's interest or not, right, to whatever product that you're selling. But the big thing with this is making sure that you either have exposure or your company has exposure to generate leads or traffic, right, which in return can lead to it wouldn't be a cold call, it'd be a call that, it will be a cold call, because so in our example, if I give an example, let's say our company, they're going to be in different events, and people are signing up for a number of things there, right? To win this, to win that. So
incentivize things.
Yeah,
for incentivized prizes.
Incentivized prizes, right? What that does, though, it gives the company the ability to make a cold call to someone they don't know, and they have a script where they're saying, hey, we noticed that you put your name in this drawing for...
so there's your catch, right? That's the thing.
The incentive is always what... Because at the end of the day, it's what they care about, right? Mm-hmm. So you lead with the incentive, and hey, we noticed that you put your name in a drawing, and you're in that drawing, but because of that, you've got the ability to you've won this, right? You've won a specific incentive attached to that drawing, and hey, everybody loves to win things, right? And so you would be surprised at how much greed plays a factor with consumers. Right, because nobody feels like they ever win enough, right? So anytime they win anything, you've got their attention, and that's going to lead to eventually them coming through the door if they're interested in what that incentive is, right?
So, and to add to that too is like when you're talking about, I think you lightly touched on it. When you're at events that are product related, say for instance I'm a photographer, right?
Exactly.
And I'm at wedding expos, right? So there's one or two ways I can go about it. If I'm a photographer at a wedding expo, I can hold my own booth, right, where I'm trying to connect with these individuals that I know they're already primed, right? They're getting married.
What type of events?
They need a photographer. Wedding expos.
So wedding expos, okay.
Right, wedding expos. You're at bridal showers, whatever. Any of those kind of things that's supporting your product. So I can either go to the vendor that's already there and say, hey, I'm gonna offer my services, right? I'm going to take pictures for you, provide this for you at no charge. And as I'm doing that, I'm actually connecting with other people that are already there and trying to book appointments. Like, hey, here's the thing, look me up, yada, yada, yada. A clever one that I saw is actually one of those events that we hosted was the accounting one, right? So the guy was a photographer, and he was pretty cool. He actually set up a free booth with the whole 9 yards, and he was taking pictures. And at that booth, he was actually already trying to connect and generate the clients by booking appointments there. I thought it was very, very clever. So that's another way you could do. That's thinking outside the box, but being very direct about what you're trying to do. That's the traditional format because the catch is what your attention grabber is a free picture. Your attention grabber is this, that, and the other. And then now I'm going to say, okay, great. You liked what you saw, which is the quality of pictures that I just took. Yeah. Hey, let's sit down. Let's chat about when you're getting ready to get married. Before you get married, yada, yada, yada. If I can go ahead and be your photographer. So that right there, to me, I think it's a great way for you to sort of market yourself, and then also at the same time book appointments while you're at it. Because the name of the game is not, to Claudia's point, you're not trying to close the business or the product right then and there. You're trying to book appointments, right?
On the approach.
And the approach.
But when you're creative, so like we're in specific events. Our company, which is a vacation-related company, right? We're in events where we know we just have qualified buyers, people with most likely credit, people with most likely income. So an example will be, we're in the home shows, right? So why would a vacation company be in a home show, right? And again,
travel shows too.
Well, the travel shows we're at our, of course, it would make sense for us to be in a travel show, but the idea behind this is you got to get real creative when you're looking at traditional systems. You got to get creative on, you need qualified buyers. Like Yanni always talks about, almost 100% of consumers are going to have some level of interest in buying a house. You know what I mean? Because they're either renting or they got to live somewhere. So it just depends on where you're at. But the takeaway is you got to be real. You got to be committed and creative at the same time. Or the more committed you are, the more creative you could be with your approaches.
Yeah. So again, those three top traditional processes or methods. The phone cold calls, the door knocking, and the direct marketing. So those are the top three. And again, there's various methods, and again, our whole thing is I think there's pros and cons to both sides. Our next episode, we're going to be talking about the social selling methods and top three techniques for that. Anything you guys want to add before we wrap this up?
Yeah.
One thing, and I'll say the takeaways that I've had as each of these guys are talking. Look, you got to know your script, and time's got to be at the forefront of everything you're doing. Because if you don't do that, you're gonna miss a lot of opportunities, right? Because these are two things that both Claudio and Yanni hit on in what they were doing when they were talking about cold calling and going door to door.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that again, top three traditional selling methods. Next episode, we're going to talk about the top three social selling methods, techniques, processes. Again, this is the Four Horsemen of Sales. You can catch us every Tuesday on all podcast platforms.
Make sure you subscribe, you follow, you share,
send or write a review. Till next episode.
There it is.
All right.
Check it out.
All right, let's go.
Hey, Come on, man.
There it is.